This is a Louie T Network exclusive.
Hey, either you're outside or you're
in the lab room.
Draft Zone.
Hey, yo. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome. You are in the lab room, of course. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me on the 2016 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series, where your man, Louie T, aims to break down each and every single team in the National Football League. That's right, all 32 teams, breaking down their 2016 NFL Draft, and doing so by using our baseball grading scale, single, double, triple, home run. There are no strikeouts here in the Draft Wrap-Up Series, so you cannot tell how this player is going to pan out. And I don't want to discount any of these young men before they get their chance in the National Football League. And so we'll get a grade for each and every single player, average those grades together, get an aggregate score, divide by the number of picks, and voila, you have yourself a final grade for that team's draft. And we move on to the next team in the process, picked by you. That's right, you the viewers. It's the you pick format. You the viewers are going to decide who the next team will be up in this process. And the reason that that will happen is because you're going to leave a comment in the bottom of this video stating two things: the team and the phrase next. So the team you want to see, and I don't care how you phrase it, as long as that team's name, some part of their name, is in that comment along with the phrase next, that team will be up next if you're first. Not second, not third, not 33rd, first. And so we're going to move on in the process now as we've hit the Los Angeles Rams, team that will be featured on Hard Knocks this year. So it should be a lot of fun tracking this team and seeing their growth over the offseason, and they made a huge move that set the tempo for the 2016 NFL Draft. So we'll talk about the Los Angeles Rams. New team, new city, new QB. Let's talk Los Angeles Rams in the 2016 NFL Draft. Now, first pick in the 2016 NFL Draft in the first round belonged to the Los Angeles Rams, who traded up to get their hands on the number one overall selection. That was a blockbuster deal, sending ripples through this entire draft. To talk about that selection, first overall pick in the 2016 NFL Draft, California quarterback Jared Goff was the selection for the Los Angeles Rams. Here's a kid from the area, grew up here, went to school there, went to college there, and now is going to play his NFL career there. And the Rams are hoping that they just got their franchise quarterback for the next decade plus in Jared Goff. Don't know how long it's going to take him to actually get onto the field. My money is on him coming in and taking the reins from day one, and we're going to see that growth through that Hard Knocks program. And my thought process is he's going to go out, he's not going to be the starter day one, he's not going to be the starter in training camp the entire way, but he's going to at some point wrestle that job away from Case Keenum, whether it be after the second preseason game and he gets the audition in week 3 of the preseason. He's going to get that opportunity to start, I believe. And I think when they take the field week 1 versus the San Francisco 49ers, I think Jared Goff is going to be their quarterback on the football field. So I think there are going to be a lot of things we're going to see from this young man in year 1. He's going to have some growing pains, but there are also some skills that he brings to the table that is going to allow him to flourish and thrive in this league. I'm not going to break him down. I've already done that in the Draft Prospects 101 series, so I'm not going to do that here. But what I will say is this is a Rams football team that we have felt like for at least the last 3 or 4 years that defensively they're ready to go. They are ready to make a serious run in the NFC, but offensively they've been challenged because of the quarterback position, mainly that position. And with the running game the way it is now, with Todd Gurley coming in and solidifying that position, and some of the skill position guys that they have and some of the moves they made in this draft, you feel like with the quarterback position now taken care of, presumably with this selection, they could make some huge leaps and bounds in the upcoming years. And so we'll see how fast they can get some production from this position with this pick of Jared Goff, number 1 overall in the 2016 NFL Draft. In the first round, first overall pick in the 2016 NFL Draft the Los Angeles Rams select Jared Goff and make him a deep shot to left field, way back. It's hit hard. It's hit deep. Out of hit. It's a home run in the first round for the Los Angeles Rams. If they get their franchise QB in Jared Goff, let's see how long it takes him to get on the field and be a productive football player for them and help them start stockpiling W's in L.A. You go to their 4th round pick. Now remember, because of that blockbuster deal, no 2nd nor a 3rd round selection for the Rams in this draft. So you go to the 4th round, 110th pick overall, tight end out of Western Kentucky, Tyler Higbee is the selection. You know how I feel about this young man. I've already broken him down, so I'm not going to do a thorough analysis of him here. Broke him down in the Draft Prospects 101 series. But what I will say is I absolutely love this guy and his skill set, and I think he's going to come in and help change the game. And again, when you have a young quarterback at under the center and at the helm, you want to have as many reliable targets for him as possible. You want to make the game as easy for him as possible. And normally, outside of the running game, the quarterback's best friend is a reliable tight end. And Tyler Higbee, to me, is the best pass-catching tight end in this draft. Not the most complete tight end. That distinction would go to Hunter Henry of Arkansas, who ended up being a San Diego Charger. But the best pass-catching tight end, the best tight end in this draft is Tyler Higbee. Very athletic, very explosive, great hands, great length. Does a number of things catching the football that few tight ends in this draft can match. And so I think there's going to be a lot that you can explore with him. I didn't know if he was going to get selected or not. He fits right in with the Los Angeles Rams. This is a team that I always like to say they color outside the lines a little bit under Jeff Fisher. And so this is a guy that colors outside of the lines a little bit. So to me, he fits in with the culture of the Los Angeles Rams. And he's a really good football player. Excited about the prospects of him coming to Los Angeles and giving them a shot in the arm offensively. Think he's going to be an upgrade over Jared Cook Jr. in the passing game. In the 4th round, 110th overall selection, tight end out of Western Kentucky, Tyler Higbee for me is a triple. Wanted to give this guy a home run because I think he's that special of a pass catcher. However, he does not block well enough for me to give him a home run of a grade. I just can't do it because he's not complete enough of a football player to give him that type of honor. But I will say this guy is a definite difference maker offensively, and he's a triple right now. And if he can get a semblance of a game blocking, this guy could be a home run in the 4th round for the Los Angeles Rams. 4th round, 117th overall pick, South Carolina wide receiver Pharoh Cooper is the selection for the Los Angeles Rams. 2nd, 4th round pick for them. And this is a guy that comes in, going to help them right away at the wide receiver position. Some changes are probably going to be made with that position over the offseason. Should be fun watching Hard Knocks and seeing that position kind of take shape as well. 5'11", 203 pounds is Pharoh Cooper. He brings toughness. That's the first pro. He brings a little bit of toughness to this football team. He's going to come in at the wide receiver position. And what I say that he is, and my comp for him, is he's a tougher, much slower, a poor man's Tavon Austin. Okay, he's a watered down version of Tavon Austin, if you ask me. Not as fast, not as quick, of course, but just as shifty and as tough. And when he gets in space, he can be a problem for a lot of teams, but he's a tougher guy. Tavon Austin not looking to go over the middle and make any tough catches, not looking to take any shots. Tavon Austin, he gets an opportunity to get down on the turf, or he gets an opportunity to dip out of bounds without taking any contact. He's going to seek that opportunity. Pharoh Cooper, not so much. He's a guy that will go over the middle and catch the football in traffic. And so that's another pro for him. That toughness aspect that I referenced comes into play when he's going over the middle and catching the football and taking contact. He's a really good route runner, something that I think Tavon Austin has tried to get better at in his NFL career, but still lacking in certain instances. But this is a guy that you can see working out of the slot a bunch. I don't know if Pharoh Cooper is a guy you want necessarily on the outside as an X or a Z receiver, but I think he's a guy that you can see working primarily in the slot. A lot of drag routes, in his career at South Carolina. A lot of curls, a lot of underneath stuff. He can get up the field as well, but he made his living catching the football, close to the line of scrimmage and then getting yards after the catch. And then there's some big explosive plays with him running some deeper routes down the field. So he can do a number of things. I think he's a very good route runner. He's a yakster. He's a guy that you want to get the football in his hands as quickly as possible and then allow him to do some work afterwards. So he is definitely a yakster, a guy you put the ball in his hands and allow him to work out in space. He's a gadget guy, and I talked about him being a watered-down version of Tavon Austin, and here's another reason why. He's a gadget guy, a guy you can put in the backfield as a running back, a guy that you can have some direct handoffs to if you want to do wildcat stuff. But when you got a rookie quarterback in there, I don't know if you necessarily want to do wildcat, take him out of the game or put him at wide receiver or any of those things. But he's a guy you can do that with. You can do some throwback passes where you can do double passes and things of that nature. So there's a lot of things that you can do with Pharoh Cooper that he did at South Carolina that makes him a viable candidate and option to do some outside of the line type of things that could throw a defense off. So he's definitely a gadget guy as well. Special teams value, that was something else he starred at South Carolina, a guy that was a tremendous punt returner. And again, if you want to take some of those duties away from Tavon Austin, I still think Tavon Austin is one of the most electrifying players in the National Football League. So you don't want to take him off of any special teams duties, but if he were to go down with an injury or something like that, you have a guy in Pharoh Cooper that could step in, you don't miss a beat, and he could still be explosive and dynamic in the return game. So you get special teams value out of Pharoh Cooper. His cons: I need more blocking effort from him. I don't think he goes out looking for work. He's a guy that if someone's in front of him and they're about a yard or two away and all he has to do is run a straight line and get to him, he'll block them. But if he has to run and seek contact and go and lay hands on somebody, not really something that he's looking forward to doing. So again, with him being in the slot, don't know how often he's going to be asked to block anyhow. But again, if he's in the game and a run play is called, I would love to see him have a little bit more effort in the run game. Quicker than fast. I've already talked about him being a watered-down version of Tavon Austin. He's not the fastest guy in the world, and he understands that, and he already mentioned that. I don't even care about the 40 time, none of that stuff. I'm a football player. I'm a guy that's going to come in, do all the little things, do all the dirty work. So he's a quicker than fast guy, not as explosive as a Tavon Austin, but guess what? He's a guy that is quick, does have some quick twitch fibers in there, can make guys miss out in space, can get up the field, can be dynamic. And so even though he's not as fast, he's not a blazer, not going to win a lot of 9 routes up the sideline, he is a guy that can make some moves out of space, and that's why he's a yakster, but he's quicker than fast. He's not a blazer in terms of speed. He needs to win more 50-50 balls. That's my final con on him. Is I see quarterbacks giving him opportunities to go up, climb the ladder, and win 50-50 balls, and he just doesn't. If there's tight coverage there and the ball's up in the air and he's got to leave his feet to go and get it, I see a lot of times where he's not able to come down with the football. I'd love to see him go up, challenge a cornerback, come down with the football despite a cornerback raking at his arms or raking at the football. I'd love to see him be stronger in situations like that where he's got to leave his feet and go outside of his frame to catch the football. When it's in his frame and the ball is where he can secure it, he's usually pretty money on those situations. But when he's got to extend away from his frame and the ball is somewhere where he's got to stretch and there's a defender draped all over him, he usually does not come down with those footballs. I'd like to see him come down with those a little bit more often. But in the 4th round, 117th pick overall, Pharoh Cooper for me is a double. He's solid, but I look at him and I say, you've already got receivers that he looks like, that he resembles. I'm looking for this team to go out and get an alpha male at receiver, a number 1 wide receiver. No, you can't really do that in the 4th round necessarily. You're going to go out and get a guy that's going to be the guy for you at receiver. You're going to have to do that in probably the first 2 rounds of the draft. Really, ideally, you'd like to do that in the 1st round. Rams didn't have that opportunity afforded to them after making that blockbuster deal to go get the quarterback. So it's understood why this was done. I think he's going to help your wide receiving core, but I don't think he's going to be a huge difference maker in this wide receiver core. So I look at him as a solid guy, but he's only a double for me in the 4th round. You go to the 6th round, 177th pick overall. South Carolina State tight end Temarrick Hemingway is the selection. Here's the guy that I am really enamored with, 6'5", 244 pounds. Great size and length is the first pro. I just talked about this guy being 6'5", 244 pounds. He is a matchup nightmare for teams if utilized correctly. And I look at him and I say, you've gotten Tyler Higbee now, and here's an opportunity for you to go out and put some 2 tight end sets together and have guys that are problems on the field together. I could see a couple of packages where him and Tyler Higbee are on the field and teams are just scratching their head as to what to do, because you've got 2 long, athletically gifted tight ends that can catch the football and make things happen after the catch. Silky smooth tight end, much like Tyler Higbee. This is a guy that can get in and out of routes, which is his next pro. Outstanding route running ability. This is a guy that can get in and out of routes, in and out of breaks very quickly. I saw him break down some defenders on tape and made it look effortless. I mean, easy and smooth. A couple of stop and go routes, a lot of choice and option routes that he was winning at the stem. Really giving it to some defenders and making them look bad. On one play, he made a defender fall down on the ground. And so there are a number of moves that this guy can pull out of his bag and get open. And so I think that's something that is going to be very beneficial to a young quarterback like Jared Goff in the league, is having a guy that can win immediately off the line of scrimmage and get open and give the quarterback an inviting target. And I think that's what Temarrick Hemingway can do. Good hands. You throw him the football, 9 times out of 10, this guy's going to catch the football no matter where it is. So again, another example of a guy that can get open when you throw the football to him. Huge catch radius at 6'5", much like a Tyler Higbee. You're talking about a bigger, thicker target, so not really going to be many opportunities for you to miss with a guy this big. You're going to really have to try hard to miss with that kind of frame at 6'5", 244. So this is a guy that is a very inviting target with really good hands. Ability to catch the football in traffic. He wins a lot of times, so there's not a lot of traffic, but if you need to squeeze it in there are countless situations on tape that I saw with this guy where he was able to catch the football in traffic. You have defenders swiping at the ball, not a big window, and he's able to still come down with the football and get up the field and get some yards after the catch. He's a tremendous athlete. That's the next pro. 4'6", 40 at 6'5", 244 pounds. That's picking him up and putting him down, folks. So this is a guy that can move at a big size at 6'5", 244. This guy's running 4'6". He's a tremendous athlete. You give him the football and big things can happen. He's versatile as to where you can line him up. I saw this guy line up out wide. I saw him line up in the slot. They had him in the backfield as an H-back. This guy's winning from everywhere on the field. So you just want to find ways to get Temarrick Hemingway on the field and get him in situations where he's isolated with a linebacker or a safety and get him in positions to win. And so whether that's in the backfield as an H-back, or that's out wide with a safety one-on-one, or you put him in the slot, or you start him out in the backfield and then you motion him out to the slot, wherever the case may be, this is a guy that can win, and you just need to put him on the field because there is some versatility here for him to be in positions to win. Shields defenders with his body, or AKA he boxes guys out like a basketball player when the football's in the air. So there are a number of things that he does to help the quarterback be successful and make them right. So I think there's a lot here with Temarrick Hemingway in the 6th round. You go to his cons. He does not block at all whatsoever. In fact, at South Carolina State, they would literally take him off the field in running downs, in running situations. He would not even be present on the field. I watched him against Clemson, and I looked and I said, okay, I want to see this guy block. And they literally would just take him off the field on 1st and 2nd downs a lot of times. Temarrick Hemingway would not be on the football field, nowhere to be found. But on 3rd and 7, you bet your bottom dollar his ass would be on the field to catch that football on 3rd down. So right now, I see a guy that does not have that in his repertoire. He's going to have to learn how to block. And I don't even know if the Rams are going to even ask him to do so. He may be just one of these guys that they say, hey, don't even worry about blocking. You just come on the field and be a disruptive, pass-catching threat for defenses to have to contend with on third down, on second down. He may be a guy that you can tell, okay, we know they're throwing the football here because he's in the game. We'll see if they can develop him into somewhat of a blocker. He doesn't have to block very well. He just needs to have some semblance of blocking so that it's not a tell when he's on the football field. But right now, he is not a blocker from what I can tell. Can he use his size to win jump balls? I didn't see many instances on tape with this guy winning jump balls, going in the air, extending from his frame, and coming down with football. He's 6'5", 244. I would like to think that this guy can go up and get the football. You could throw some jump balls to him, some fade routes in the end zone where he just goes up and wins because he's 6'5", and the defender checking him is only 5'11". I'd like to think that that's the case, but I didn't see it. So I'm just going to assume that he can do that, but I'm not here to make many assumptions. So I just want to know. This is more of a question than it is a con. Can he go up, high point the football, and make plays away from his frame? He's 6'5", 244. I'd love to see him go up and get the football and let that be something that can also be at the disposal of the quarterback. Is to just throw it up to this guy and say, go get it, big boy, come down with it for me. And I want to see if he can do that. Did not see that on tape, so right now that is a concern for me. And also, is there any special teams value? The fact that he's not on the field blocking in any capacity makes me think about lack of physicality, and that's something that I don't really want to hear about, because if he's going to make this football team, guess what? He's going to need to play special teams. He's going to need to run down and hit somebody. He's going to need to be able to play on the punt coverage, on the kickoff coverage. So he's going to have to show that he can have some kind of extra impact other than just catching the football. And so I didn't see that on tape. So once again, I've got questions. He needs to have answers. So in the third round for me, Temarrick Hemingway, because he's such a threat when he's on the football field as a pass catcher, he's a triple in the 6th round for me. I wanted to bust him down to a double, but just because I didn't see it doesn't mean he can't play special teams. Just because I didn't see it doesn't mean he can't go and high point the football. I just didn't see it on tape. But at 6'5", with the hands that I saw, I think it's only natural to assume that this guy can go up and get the football away from his frame. And he's going to have to play special teams. And I think he understands that in the 6th round, nothing is guaranteed to you. You don't have to make this roster. So I think just off of his sheer ability to get open and win, and then them telling him, look, man, you need to play some special teams. You want to make this team. And I'm looking forward to seeing if this guy's going to be on Hard Knocks or not. I want to see what he brings to the table from a special team standpoint. But this guy can play football. He is a mismatch nightmare. And I can see already a number of packages, some 13 personnel with this guy on the field, along with Tyler Higbee and Lance Kendricks, all on the field at the same time. And having teams needing to defend 3 tight ends at once could be tough for a lot of teams in the NFC West if he's able to make this roster. You move on to the 6th round, 190th pick overall. Kentucky linebacker Josh Forrest is the pick, the second 6th round selection of 3 in the 6th round. He's a guy that's 6'3", 249 pounds, and he's a long, stout defender. That's the first pro. He's a guy that at 6'3", very long arms. They extend away from his body, allows him to be stout at the point of attack. It's called him a stout defender, and that's exactly why. He's not the strongest guy in the world, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but he definitely has some length that gives him some leverage that allows him to win at the point of attack, stand some blockers up, and allows him to disengage from them when the ball carrier is near. He's aware. This is a guy with some awareness to him. He knows what's going on. He sees the play. He's able to react because he's aware to what's going on. Now, we'll talk about that a little bit later on and the other side of that awareness. But he has awareness and he does know what's going on, and you can see that on tape. He tackles very well, led Kentucky Wildcats in tackles last season, and he's a guy that, if the ball carrier is near him, he's going to do what he needs to do, whether it's a shoestring tackle or it's a wrap form tackle. He'll get a guy on the ground for the most part, so he tackles very well. Great length. I've already talked about this already with his long arms, him being a long defender. This is a guy that is long legs, long arms. He's a long defender in general. Stout at the point of attack, mentioned that already. This is a guy that I think because of those arms and his ability to use them, He started the point of attack, extends them away, makes contact first with an offensive lineman, which allows him usually to win at the point of attack. Plays assignment football, and I talked about him being aware, and him doing his job is something that comes with that awareness. If it's a run play, he's supposed to plug the B gap. He plugs the B gap. He runs up, takes on the fullback in the hole, runs up, takes on that guard, doesn't allow him to get to the second level and get a double team and then get off of that and get up the field 5 or 6 yards. He gets into that gap and stops that guard right in his tracks. So you can see a lot of instances where he plays assignment football. So you move on to his cons. No agility, not a big time athlete. Here's a guy that ran like a 4.91 at the combine. Now he did later on clean that up at his pro day and ran like a 4.7 and some change. But on tape, I see a guy that is a lumbering athlete. He does not look fast. It doesn't look like there's any fast twitch fibers at all with this guy. He's not very agile, doesn't move side to side and laterally well. When he blitzes, he doesn't blitz to hit home. He blitzes just to fill a gap. You know, he's not a guy that's going to elude a blocker and get in the backfield and chase the quarterback down. He's just going to run in like a caveman and hit somebody at the line of scrimmage, but he's not impacting the play really. So there's not a lot of agility here when he's out in coverage and out in space. I don't see him being a guy that you want him tracking someone in man-to-man coverage. When he's out in zone coverage, I don't see him being someone that's very fluid and easy out in space. I just see this guy as a normal guy. He's just a guy. He's functionally strong, but that's not a good thing. Here's a guy that had 11 reps of 2 1/4, the worst of any linebacker at the combine. No linebacker at the combine had less than 15 reps of 2 1/4, except for Josh Forrest, who was only able to push it up 11 times. He didn't do it again at his pro day because that's just as strong as he can get. He's not going to improve that at all. He's not a guy that works hard in the weight room because 11 reps of 2 1/4 when you're 249 pounds, that's not saying much. So he's not a guy that's going to toss anybody around, and he's not an extremely physical guy, at least not from a strength standpoint. So that's something to worry about there. That's not a big time attribute for him, and that's something that's kind of hard to stomach. If I'm looking at a 250 pound, 6'3" linebacker that's only pushing up 225 11 times, and he's a robot. That's the last con. He's just a guy. I look at him and I'm like, yo, go make a play, man. Go do something. Now there was one play, I watched him, he's in coverage, quarterback's out of the pocket being flushed out. He panics, he throws the football to a guy by the sideline. Josh Forrest runs in front of the pass, picks it off, runs it in for a touchdown. But in his run fits, he'll see a play, and I talked about him being aware, and I talked about him being a guy that plays assignment football. Well, he'll see a play, and his job is to go plug the C gap, okay? And instead of him, and the running back looks like he's coming up the B gap, instead of him running to the B gap and forcing that running back either to bounce it out or to make a move or something like that, he'll just say, look, my job is to plug this C gap. He may be going up the B gap, but I don't want to leave my C gap exposed. So I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to leave him to run up the B gap unmolested. And if he gets 7 yards on the play, at least he didn't get it going up my gap. And so that's the thing that frustrates me. Go make a play, man. Go be a playmaker. He's just a guy. He's a robot. You tell Josh Forrest to set the edge, he sets the edge. You tell Josh Forrest be in the C gap, he's going to be in the C gap. But what if the play's going in the A gap and you see it going in the A gap? Why are you running to the C gap? I mean, there's just some things that I just wasn't comfortable with. Then he's not strong. 11 reps of 2 1/4. There's just too many things here that I don't like with Josh Forrest in the 6th round, 190th pick overall. Kentucky linebacker Josh Forrest for me is a single. I just see this guy being a little bit of a help to you on special teams if he even makes your roster. To me, he doesn't even fit the profile of a Los Angeles Ram, because when I think of a Ram defensive football player, especially a linebacker, I'm thinking about a guy that is uber fast and quick, a guy that's a playmaker, a guy that could look like a safety that's probably around 235 pounds or so. This is a guy that's 250 and he's not athletic and he's not strong, and so he doesn't even fit the profile of what the Rams do. We'll see if Josh Forrest is able to crack this roster or not. I've got my doubts right now. as I watch him on tape. You go to the final pick of the Rams 2016 NFL Draft in the 6th round, 206th pick overall, wide receiver out of Southern Miss, Mike Thomas is the selection. 6'1", 200 pounds, long, sneaky athlete. This is a guy that will sneak up on you, and I hate calling players sneaky athletes, but I think this actually fits him in terms of his speed. He's a build-up speed guy. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but he can get it up there at a 4.48, which is where he's been clocked. This guy can run, and I think a lot of people are deceived, and he has deceptive speed because it sneaks up on you, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on, but he's a precise route runner. That's the next pro. This is a guy that I loved watching him on tape, get in and out of breaks, run precise routes. Quarterback and him had a lot of continuity together. You could tell they played together, and they knew where one another was going to be, and he was able to run some routes. Football was there on time, and he was able to catch it. There was one play, and he had a tremendous final game of his collegiate career in the bowl game. He went off, I think, over 200 yards receiving. And there's one play where he catches a curl right in zone coverage. I mean, he's literally bracketed. There's a corner there in cover 2. There's a linebacker right behind him. And there's a defender right there from the defensive line. And they're all kind of in a little bracket, in a triangle. You can see all of them right there. And he runs right in the middle of that. The quarterback lets it go. As soon as he comes out of his break and turns around, football's there. He catches it in stride on a curl route. Doesn't break stride. As he turns around and pivots, football's there, and he turns and goes up the field immediately, runs by that linebacker, outruns the safety, and that's where that build-up speed that I'm talking about comes into play. Runs it in for about a 50-yard touchdown, 60-yard touchdown. It's a beautiful play. He's a great route runner, and I think that's something that the Rams are going to benefit with him at the next level. I fully expect this guy to make their roster. I really like what he brings to the table. Solid hands. There were a couple of concentration lapses where he did drop some balls that he would normally catch, but I liken it to Amari Cooper last year. You knew Amari Cooper had good hands, but there were some concentration drops on film. I think the same thing can be said about Mike Thomas. You throw him the football, you expect him to catch it, but there's going to be some times where he should catch it and he doesn't because of some concentration lapses. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but he's got really good hands to come down with the football. That's not something that I really worry about with him in terms of him having suspect hands like a guy that the Texans drafted, in the first round that could catch the football, may not catch the football. You're not really sure. So I think his hands are really good. Can explode after the catch, and I gave you a prime example of that in that bowl game where he catches a curl and then explodes after the catch and gets up the field and scores a touchdown. He was magnificent in that bowl game, and so there's some things that he can do with the football in his hands, and I think that this whole process, I've been hearing people say, this guy isn't fast, he's not going to win, he's not going to separate, he's going to have to do this, he's going to have to do that. I kind of disagree with a lot of people. I think he runs really good routes, and he's a little explosive, and I'll talk about some things that some challenges he's going to have at the next level, but I saw him do some things that I wasn't expecting because of what everybody else told me that I was supposed to see from this guy, and I just didn't see that from him watching several games. He's very competitive. This is a guy that's going to go up, fight for the football, and when you hear competitive at the receiver position, there's one thing that I think of the most outside of fighting for the football is that this guy's going to block, because to me, that's a mentality that you got to have as a receiver. Either you want to block or you don't. And if you're competitive, you want to block, you want the football, you want to go get it. And that's Mike Thomas to me in a nutshell. This guy's a physical blocker. That was going to be his last pro, but since we're talking about it now, let's talk about him blocking. To me, I've watched quite a few receivers in this draft class, and right now, to me, outside of Laquan Treadwell, who by far and away is the best blocking wide receiver in this draft class, I put Mike Thomas up there right with Laquan Treadwell, probably second best blocking wide receiver in this draft class. He will absolutely come up and jack you up. If you're a cornerback that wants no part of blocking, you don't want to see Mike Thomas in front of you, because he's coming, he's going to pull a jolt into you. And if you're soft, he's going to run you 3-4 yards out of the play. I mean, the guy is very physical when it comes to blocking, and I love that because not enough receivers take pride in blocking, and Mike Thomas seems to do that. he'll catch the football in traffic. Saw a number of times where he had to come down with some contested balls. Now hearing a guy like Mike Mayock say this guy's not going to win, he's not going to separate consistently enough, so he's going to have to catch the football in traffic. Well, I saw him catch the football in traffic. If that is in fact the case at the next level, it's good to know that I saw him catch the football in traffic quite a bit on tape. So if that is the case, he can't separate from sticky man-to-man coverage at the next level. It's good to know that you can force it in there to Mike Thomas and he can come down with the football. That being said, let's go to his cons. Concentration lapses is the first con, and I talked about this already, alluded to it, that every now and again he will drop a football that he should catch. I think in that bowl game, he might have had like 3 touchdown catches with those 200 yards and probably like 9 or 10 grabs, whatever the case may be. He should have had 4 touchdowns. He dropped a beautifully thrown deep ball over the shoulder. Defender fell down on the ground. He was going to score another touchdown. This one was going to be about a 47, 53-yard catch and run for a touchdown. He dropped it. And there was another play, a slant. He's open. It's going to be a nice, solid chunk of yardage that he's going to get probably after the catch. Drop the football. That's something that you're going to get with him, I think, from time to time, where he's looking to make a play before he actually gets the football in his hands. And if he can just concentrate, don't worry about what's coming afterwards. Catch the football. You all know my saying, you can't run and gun, you can't ball, you can't have a ball without the ball. So you can't run and gun and have fun. You can't ball without the ball. So he needs to just catch the football first. And so I think if he can just eliminate some of these concentration lapses, guy will be money in terms of catching the football. Build-up speed athlete. This is a guy that at Southern Miss saw a lot of press coverage. And what press coverage means is I'm disrespecting your ability to run by me. I don't think you have legitimate speed. I'm not worried about what you bring to the table because you're not fast enough. So you don't threaten me deep. So I'm going to come up in your face. I'm going to delete the airspace. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to make you earn this. And so I saw a lot of that at the college ranks where guys were comfortable coming in his face and pressing him at the line of scrimmage. And I think that's what Mike Mayock was talking about. You're going to see a lot of press coverage, a lot of guys getting in his face and jamming him at the line of scrimmage and making him beat them. And if he can beat them consistently, then they will back off. But he's going to have to do that. And I've told you, he's a build-up speed athlete. So he's one of these guys that initially off the line of scrimmage, you can jam him because he's not at top speed. He's not a 0 to 60 real quick guy. He's more though, let me take 8 steps and get up to top speed, and now I can blow back some guys. He's a build-up speed guy, and I don't know if he'll be able to build up speed fast enough to get the football in his hands without being contested at the next level. We'll see. I know he can win on that 9 route. If he's not jammed up at the line of scrimmage and he gets a free release, he can get up the field and he can run by some guys. I saw him do it on tape, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings to the table. I think it might be a better pick, a more impactful pick for them at the receiver position than their 4th round pick in Pharoh Cooper. I'm just saying, I like Mike Thomas as a viable option, a more viable option than I do Pharoh Cooper. That's just me. I think he's a more natural pass catcher. I think he can do more things. You can put Mike Thomas in the slot if you want. You can put him out wide. I think at 6'1", 200 pounds, he can hold his own out wide as a big receiver for you. So I think he has more versatility. He has more to offer from the receiver position than does a Pharoh Cooper. We'll see. But in the 6th round, wide receiver Mike Thomas for me is a double. If he didn't have the concentration lapses, if he were able to separate a little bit better and win a little bit more often, he would be a triple. I really like what he brings to the table. I think he's going to have to prove people wrong about the separation thing and getting off the line of scrimmage and winning his routes and separating from defenders and catching the football. If he can do that, I think he could be a steal for you in the 6th round of this draft for the Los Angeles Rams. That's going to do it for the Los Angeles Rams in their 2016 NFL Draft. Let's tally up the scores for them quickly and get out of here. You got a home run in the 1st round with quarterback Jared Goff. You got a 4th round triple by Tyler Higbee. 4th round double for Pharoh Cooper. 6th round, you got 3 selections. You got a double, a triple, and a single in the 6th round. Temarrick Hemingway a triple, Josh Forrest a single, and Mike Thomas rounding out your draft with a double. You add all of those up, no bonuses here necessary for the Los Angeles Rams. I almost went clean without doing that the entire time. So you got a home run, 2 triples, a 2 doubles, and a single for a total of 15. You divide by the 6 draft picks that the Rams had, and the Los Angeles Rams come out of this draft with a 2.5 double. That's going to be pretty low in terms of what you'll see from these other teams, but again, they don't have a lot of picks here. If they would have had more picks, you would have gotten some bonuses and things of that nature. But I like some of the picks they made. Not in love with the Josh Schwartz pick. We'll see what happens with that. I think some of these guys have some potential to really do some big things for the Rams. And so we'll see what happens with this entire draft class. That's going to do it for the Los Angeles Rams. That's going to do it for me here in the Draft Plus Series. If it happens in the National Football League, they've got a big or small coverage all here in the lab. We'll come back and join us and see what they're and the National Football League. Who's going to be next? You'll determine that. I'll see you next time.
There's plenty more where that came from. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you want more Louie T, be sure to follow me on Twitter at InTheLabRoom, or you can like the Facebook page at In The Lab Room. That's In The Lab Room on Facebook and at In The Lab Room on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so.
Mm-hmm.